This game, we got the Queen's Gambit. So this opponent, I'm gonna call him AD. And AD was rated 1073. He had a really good tournament, by the way. Really good tournament. His rating went up pretty drastically afterwards. Two Knights is very advanced. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So let's focus on AD. So I have realized there is a trope of a kind of chess player at chess tournaments, and I am calling it the aggressive little boy. And when I say aggressive, I don't mean like personality, but I mean chess, where it's a little like little teeny tiny human who's like 8 or 9 years old and who just like every single move is an attack. Um, every single move is an attack, and this game felt so spicy, so spicy. What was the accuracy of this game? When I analyzed it afterward, I was like, oh, yeah. Accuracy on this one, very low. I played with 58.6% accuracy. So, yeah, AD, my opponent in this game, teeny tiny aggressive chess player. And I realized after this game one of the differences in over the board chess that I hadn't stopped and reflected on before, where I was matching his energy. I was moving as quickly as he was. I was playing as aggressively as he was. And if you know my chess style, I'm not a super attacking, aggressive player. So when I'm faced with a super aggressive attacking player, I lose my freaking shit. My freaking stuff. I'm gonna put this on YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. So that's something I need to figure out. Cause well, let's just see the spicy game, shall we? So d4, d5, c4. We're going for a Queen's Gambit declined. And I've been studying Queen's Gambit and how to respond to Queen's Gambit declined, so I go knight c3. AD goes knight f6, all book moves. I take, he takes, and I pin. Everything here is a book move. A kick here is a mistake, which I thought was interesting. Of course, I replied to it poorly. I should have taken here because allowing black to potentially continue pushing pawns is a terrible idea for me because look where I'm going to castle. I'm going to castle kingside. There is no mystery about that. So continuing or starting off on move 6, allowing my opponent to take more space in front of my soon-to-be castled king, and especially because I knew this kid was going to be an aggressive little kid, I should have taken, and it would have been fine. So, and it does ruin structure. Does ruin structure. Great point, Amuser, because if I had taken here, you can't take back this way without sacrificing a central pawn. So best move would have been to take back this way, and then these pawns are a lot less scary to be in front of my castle. So this was a great thing for me to learn as a d4 player, because this was something that I haven't seen before. And that's the one big criticism I have of opening courses, is they show you your opponent being a sane person who makes best moves. But if they're not a sane person and they don't make best moves, you still need to know how to respond. And Amusio, you've seen this in the Caro. As for my position, or for my opponent's position. So yeah, this was the first move that kind of accumulated into some trouble for me later on. But their pin works. As the black side with the bishop on g5. Yes, I think I was going off of Caro-like ideas And knowing when to take versus when to drop back with the bishop it's a little nuanced, and I made the wrong nuanced call here. So let's continue our opening. Of course, they're going to kick my bishop, and we're equal according to the engine, but I'm in a little bit of hot water because I decide that the best way for me to keep my pawn structure intact here is to move my knight to e2, which adds a defender here, which is being attacked twice now, and adds a defender here, so I don't need to recapture with a pawn. Queen b3 was actually best move here, but... So I kick their bishop, and they should have taken. Both of us made a very similar error. So I kick the bishop again, AD drops it back, and I can grab their knight now. I finally get some breathing room. Engine agrees. Eval here, plus 2.5 for me. And I have lots of big ideas. I plan to bring my knight over, adding an attacker here, maybe at some point kicking this knight and going after the bishop or the rook on h8. My position is coming together beautifully. What I didn't account for is the fact that I'm playing an aggressive little boy. So we got a pawn pusher. We got a pawn pusher. And I spent some time here thinking. Also, he was moving so fast. I think we're on move... What are we on? We're on move 13 of a 45-minute clock, and he still had, like, 42 minutes on his clock. I think I was down to about 30, so I definitely didn't have balanced time here. And I realized, of course, this was incoming, and of course my bishop is going to get trapped. So to counteract that, I did consider h3, but I thought to myself, okay, how much do I care? Hello, wizard! I'm reviewing my games from yesterday's tournament. Were you there, by any chance? Same area, I don't know. So yeah, I knew my bishop would get trapped. You were not at the tournament? That's fair. That's fair. Sometimes people come in when I'm doing tournament recaps and are like, were you? And I'm like, yeah, that was me. How's it going now? How's it going? h5 isn't as strong as the knight isn't on e4 anymore. After h3. Yeah, but, well, I didn't do that. Lost any advantage I had because I thought I would be fancy. I thought I would be fancy and say, oh, you're going to attack my bishop? Well, I'm going to attack your knight and then force a queen trade, and it's all going to be great. No, it was not going to be great because what I failed to account for is actually the same mistake my first opponent made where this rook, it is not supported by anything. It is not supported by anything. So the big problem with this counterattack is if here, take, and now there's a pawn on g3, eyeing two of my pawns, neither of which I want to be captured, nor can I take with either of them. Because if I take this way, oops, and if I take this way, oops. So huge mistake from me. Absolutely huge. And I understand this now. Of course, I didn't see it at the game, otherwise I wouldn't have played it. So, yes, all of this happens. This was actually a miss from my opponent. Taking the bishop would have been much, much better. But I felt very uncomfortable because now this is being attacked and this is being attacked, and I felt like I didn't have a great way to deal with both things. I took the pawn. Best move was actually to fork the bishop and the queen. Yeah, knight d5 would have been best move. And I would have had a super, super, super strong advantage if I had played knight d5. This is still actually a big advantage for me. It's +3, says the engine, but it's not as clear as knight d5 would have been. I just didn't see knight d5. My over-the-board vision, still shaky. Still... So the queen slides in, right? Aggressive little boy. The queen is out. The attacking piece is out. I repeat, the attacking piece is out. And I didn't know what to do. I made best move here. I slid the rook over to attack, and I kind of figured, okay, if you're going to move your queen off of the long diagonal, my rook or my bishop can escape, and I am fine. So queen goes back, and my bishop is in trouble. There are no squares my bishop can go to here, so it is lost. There's actually a really beautiful move that I missed in the game. Really beautiful move I missed in the game. And it continues to be a beautiful move for several subsequent moves. Anyone see the beautiful move? I'll give chat a moment. Would have been a game changer. Well. Bishop b5. Excellent, Tiger. Bishop b5 is the best idea. Knight d6. That's interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, bishop b5 is beautiful. It is not something I considered at all. But the idea of it, of course, is, well, let's follow it. If we go here, of course, the issue is that there's a big, big, big attack looming. And Engine thinks actually Black's best response to this is to castle kingside, which is insanity to me. But, you know, best option in a pretty dire situation. And of course, the threat of why you have to deal with this is this discovered check allows you to grab the rook with promotion, and then it's over for Black, right? Completely over. And I don't even know how many moves this is an option for, but it's several. So let's acknowledge the beautiful miss and show you what I actually played. What did I actually play after the queen moved to g7? Me thinking a lot about my lost dark squared bishop. I was like, well, screw it. I take a pawn. And remember, I'm already up the piece that I had kind of counterattacked. So taking the bishop back here, I'm still up 2 pawns. I'm still up 2 pawns. But it's absolutely not comfortable for me. And this was the game-changing error. Game-changing error. Why was this such an error? Because, like, nothing's hanging. Well, why is it so bad? Why is it so bad is my knight was doing an essential job here in a position where my king is wide open. My knight was guarding c3. And without my knight guarding c3, this queen check is very potent. So, oops. Engine thinks that best move here is to ignore the fact that my knight is hanging and go for the attack on b7. So queen d5. Remember, the knight was here, so queen d5, very strong, continuing to add pressure to this idea while adding a defender to the knight. I think my reason for moving the knight here was, I don't even know if I'm being honest. What did I say in my annotations? I don't remember why I made that move. But it was a huge issue. A huge, huge, huge freaking issue. Uh, and of course, aggressive chess playing little boy capitalizes on my error. Because that's the other thing about these aggressive players is they make aggressive moves, waiting for you to respond, and the moment that you make an error, they punish you for it. And like, my opponent played a freaking great game of chess, you know? Eval bar was wild at times, but I cannot fault him for how he played this game. Um, and so I block with the queen, which is a great move because it proposes a queen trade and also allows me to have some potential counter threats, right? Potential counter threats. I'm protecting pawns now. Potentially, like, there's huge things I'm threatening here. So the queen actually goes back here to grab that pawn, which was a great move. Instead of grabbing this one, because keeping his king or his queen in a like very centralized area was important. Hello, Krishna. Thank you for the hydration. And at this point in time, of course, I start seeing this idea and thought about preparing for it, but I didn't have a great way to prepare for it because an a4 push to support the bishop, well, a4 isn't supported, so that doesn't work. So I tried to kick the queen off that diagonal. I realized that the pin wasn't gonna go anywhere. So queen moves, and I bring my bishop out, thinking maybe f5 for my knight could be a juicy square. And also, castling would be nice. It's only move 22. And my opponent, fitting in line with the aggressive little kid chess player trope, pushes pawns. That's another trademark of these chess players is pushing pawns. And I ignore the pawn push. Castling was best here. Castling was best. And I decide to try to meet my opponent's energy. They want the queen pin. Yes, I did clock that as an idea where if take like something here, right? Or if I take. So that's also why I didn't take. I think I did spot that actually. So I left that chillin', kicked their queen, and they blundered because I get a free pawn. A free pawn with future bright on f7. Because both of our kings are still in the middle of the board. Who needs to castle? Who needs to castle in classical chess? So black moves the queen up, and I am so wildly uncomfortable in this position. Where does my knight go? That doesn't drop this pawn, because, you know, like, this is hanging. This is hanging. I still have an advantage here, by the way, because I'm still 2 pawns up. So I should have just let the pawn go. I should have let the pawn go. And I spent a very long time on this move. And I moved g3, which is a miss. Knight f3 would have been best. Which, actually, that's crazy. Knight f3 would have been best? And then what if they take here? Oh, I looked at this. If the queen takes here, the queen's actually trapped. The queen's trapped. So after rook g1, supported by this, if takes, let me see if I can remember how this goes. That's a blunder because after the bishop attacks the queen doesn't have a square to move to that doesn't allow for a mate. King e2, not possible, Krishna. Here? I wish. But bishop e2, beautiful. And Dom, you'd pay money to watch the game. I was tense throughout. My nerves had not settled. My nerves were so bad this entire tournament. Just like everything was zinging, like my stomach was kind of aching. I had to pee like every 5 minutes just because I was so nervous. Is that just me? Is that TMI? I don't care. You know that now. And yeah, I don't know why my nerves were so bad yesterday. But I didn't do this idea. I just didn't see it. So I played g3. And it's not the end of the world, but it's not great. So AD moved his rook out of the attack, which I made this move, which was dumb. I thought I was being sneaky here because it's adding a discovered defender to my horse with also potential for a discovered attack on a rook. Oh, Krishna, the delay. Okay. Okay, sure, it was the stream delay. No, you're good. You're good. But this was a mistake because an idea I had written off actually works very well. Better move would have been this. What? How does this work? Because I saw that this check was available for a lot of the game, but I thought after this, then what? What do you have after this? Your bishop just has to move back, right? Well, actually, it doesn't have to move back. The queen's safe here because this is pinned. And if takes, oops. Wow, I'm glad that got a wow from someone because when I was analyzing after, I was like, didn't see that. And I don't feel bad about not seeing that. Beautiful idea here. Can't you sack the rook on c6 as well? On c6. Oh, let's check it out. Oh, not there. Not there. So I think it has to be queen here. Queen here, great move. And it would have, like, it was a very complex game. Very spicy. Like, after the game, I was like, that was a spicy game. To myself, I didn't say that to my opponent, because I'm sure many of his games go this way. So where were we? Right, I had made this move, which we're equal here. It's equal, but I don't feel equal because I feel very vulnerable. My pieces are not well supported. These two big baddies lined up feel so scary. Even though this rook and this bishop have done nothing in this game. It doesn't matter because we're playing on the king's side where my opponent has material and I have very weakly supported material. And now it's even scarier because lining up on h2 means that I can't castle ever. This is a no castling game. And my one idea at this point is to try to exploit f7. Yeah, I was very shaken by this game. Just constantly responding to threat after threat after attack, not playing the kind of chess that I usually like to play. So I was wildly outside of my comfort zone. And I had the right idea going after f7 here, but it's a miss because what would have been stronger? Going after it with the bishop. Because Why attack a piece with a queen when it's defended by a queen, when you could instead attack with a small little baby piece? So, wrong execution of the idea. And so, this is... I guess we have more game. I was going to say it's the beginning of the end, but it's an important move towards the end of this game where they took and I took back. I didn't love the idea of taking here and then their pawn being 2 squares away from promotion, but I shouldn't have taken here, actually. I shouldn't have taken here. Instead, I should have continued with my idea. I ignored my own idea because my opponent made a weird attack move. Lumbit, your opponent congratulated you on your gameplay in a game he won? That was weird. That is a little weird. But take the compliment, I guess. And I hated this pawn move. I didn't want to make this move. I just didn't see a better option. Because now the rook has the open file. And my king is still very vulnerable. It's just really an uncomfortable place for me to be. So, of course, that rook comes in. And now every piece of black's is attacking. Whereas my rook is not in the game. This bishop should be in the game, but is not. And this is where my over-the-board vision failed me. There is a terrifying idea black is concocting with the rook to a2 move that online I think would be very obvious to me, but over the board I just completely missed it. Like, did not even cross my mind that this was an option. Crossed my opponent's mind, though. So I finally decide to finish my plan. And now I move bishop c4 and it's a blunder. Does chat see why it's a blunder? This one was painful. It was so painful. Yeah. Yeah, this was real game move here. Bishop f2, check. I forgot the bishop existed. Sniper bishops over the board are still very much a real thing that I have not quite developed the vision for. Not mate in one, but might as well be. Because my best option here is to actually take the bishop with the queen. Otherwise, mate is incoming. Because if I go, for example, if I go king f1, then they go queen h3 check, and my only move is here. And then bishop takes, and that's the end of the game, right? So of course, this is not what happened. I spotted that mate would happen, so I took with the queen. He takes with the rook, I take with the king. So materially, actually, this is very interesting. Materially, we are dead equal here. It's imbalanced material, but I have 2 rooks and 2 minor pieces. Well, soon to be 1 minor piece. And so, like, in that regard, it's equal, but everything else is completely in black's favor. It's -8 here. Because their pieces are so well coordinated. They didn't even need to take the horse right away. Now they do. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm just making moves to stay with as much material as I can on the board. Maybe there's an attack that I can avoid. I had to move my rook to d2, I thought, to avoid this. But of course, there was no way for me to defend every square the queen could infiltrate from. She can go here, she can go here. So, like, it's gonna be short-lived, right? So he does infiltrate queen to e3. I tried to defend my pawn because that's the important thing in this position, I say sarcastically. I should have actually given a check. This way? King takes. Rook check. King moves. And then, old buddy boy, let's trade rooks. This is my best chance. It's still forced mate in 5. So I defend my pawn. Let's keep the little guys on the board, shall we? And then it's incoming. Mate in 2. I move my king. Queen comes in, forced to g1, and it's mate. This was a brutal game. It was brutal. But I learned a lot from it, and my spirits were still pretty high at this point because my round 1 win against the opponent I've lost to before felt very potent to me. So losing to this guy, obviously I don't want to lose, but it was fine, right? And I reflected pretty seriously after the game, like, okay, my opponent was aggressive and quick. And I've even said this on stream that, like, that type of opponent, I don't know how to play against. And I actually don't know how to practice playing against that type of opponent because I almost feel like, and obviously this person won. I'm not saying I'm better than them by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there is something to it that at a certain like point in chess, you try playing like principled chess, and when your opponent doesn't match that principled chess energy, I crumble. So how do I find opponents who play this way online